Hey, did someone order coffee to go? Well, that's exactly what this new season of coffee is all about. So join us on location to go behind the scenes to hear from actors, singers, and all kinds of amazing people who make the Christian entertainment industry what it is today.
And I've got the joy deep down in my heart. I'm waking up with your love from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain. I know it's gonna be a beautiful
Hello,
day.
friends, and welcome to the Coffee with Kim show. You know what coffee stands for: conversations of friends of faith to encourage and equip. I'm Kim Crable, always delighted to be your host and to be invited into your home. Well, this week we are coffee on the go because we are outside the studio and we're on location in Texas. And I am so glad that we are, because I'm able to meet new friends and bring new people into your life that's going to bring so much meaning to you. One of those people is sitting right beside me today, a new friend, and you're going to love this interview and what he is about. Ulises Larramendi. Close?
Perfect. No, not even perfect.
Perfect?
Yeah.
Well, then I'm not going to do it again. We'll just, great. Hey, thank you so much for being
No,
here.
thank you for having me. This
What
is great.
you're doing with your life is amazing.
No.
And so I want to share you with my audience because I love my audience and I want to bring incredible people to them. So let's start out with, you are an actor and you've been busy at that, but that's not the way you started out. You have restaurants, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not too self-serving. Yeah, I make a living in the restaurant business, and I started when I was a young
Yeah.
high school student washing dishes, and I got the bug and I never got out. Yeah.
How about that?
So I own my own place, and that's how I pay the bills.
Oh, that's great. And so that kind of helps you go into the second dream of yours, I guess, which is acting. How did you get into acting?
Uh, as a child, just always been interested in telling stories. Probably inherited that from my dad.
Oh,
So did a lot of theater in college,
okay.
and then took a break to develop my restaurant career. And about 15 years ago, found film,
Uh-huh.
and then got involved through ministry with that, and I've been doing it ever since.
So when did you come to your faith? When did you meet Jesus?
How long do we have again? Yeah, so I have. I grew up in a Christian home. I'm one of the very few Cubans who are not Catholic. Okay, but understanding my relationship with Jesus came at the age of 36.
36. How
Yeah,
about that? I
so
thought you were
all-
only 29. This is 29.
Yeah, went through youth camps, walked to the front with all my buddies, accepted Christ. I don't know how many times, but understanding the true relationship with the Lord.
Right.
Not till my 30s, through someone in Florida who walked me through. Kim, it was a moment where I cried like a baby when he made me realize that I was not saved, even though all along I was thinking, yeah, I got this.
I remember seeing that on an interview where someone asked you and you paused, right?
Yeah, I hesitated, and he said, yeah, then you're not.
Yes. What kind of revelation that was to
The
you?
assurance, the knowing
Yes.
where you're going tomorrow if
Yes.
you're not here.
No
And I-
hesitation if you know that you know that you know.
And when he saw me doubt, he said, okay, let's walk through this because you really don't understand. So
What-
I've been a Christian all my life. I said, yeah, let's do this now.
What a message for our listeners, that if you hesitate to have to think if you know the Lord, if you have
Amen.
that relationship, to go back and maybe call someone and say, let's talk about this.
Yep.
I remember that now. What a great story. Okay, you've been in some very impactful movies and things, but one that I saw that I think was amazing that you said changed your life was the one, first we're going to talk about We Are Stronger.
Okay.
Can we just talk about that and
Yes.
just how impactful that was?
Yeah, that was a role that I was asked to play about a soldier that came home from Afghanistan with post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
A lot of our veterans go, they fight for our country, they fight for our freedom, come home. They've seen things they shouldn't see.
Yes.
We're not wired, Kim, to experience the things our men and women do when they go overseas to fight.
Yes.
So Vic had that story, and he came home very damaged.
Yes.
And the film shows a spiritual approach let God do the mending,
Yeah.
not the medications, not the alcohol, not everything that they turn to.
Right.
Our systems are broken. We don't take care of our vets. So
Yes.
I dove into a character that I really didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got into that world, it opened my eyes. Like most of us walking around don't really know.
Watching that, you kind of step into that world, and it's a very heavy world. And I hope that, have you seen anything come from that maybe has opened up avenues for veterans to be noticed?
Every time we did a premiere screening, Kim, the most emotional part of all that was waiting outside for everybody to come out and have a veteran or a firefighter or a police officer just come up and in silence. I had this one guy that just held me for
Oh,
the most awkward and uncomfortable time,
yeah.
but he just came up and hugged me and cried
Oh,
because he had seen himself on the screen and he realized, okay, somebody knows my story.
wow.
I'm not alone, which is basically what happens. These guys think they're alone
Yes.
and they have to fight this thing alone.
Yes.
So the devil's very, very smart,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
Isolating,
yes.
cut off your supply. It's a military tactic, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So that was very impactful. We also saw marriages change.
Mm.
Women that saw the character who played my wife and said, "That's been me for the last 15 years."
Yes. Yes.
And marriages healed. Veterans seek help. There's a whole ministry in Arizona that was birthed
Really?
by a veteran, Ron Breland, because he saw the film and he healed.
Wow.
And there's no healing to PTS, but there's managing.
That's it.
And God helps you.
Yes.
You cling to Him.
Yes.
How many veterans do we lose to suicide?
Yes. Oh, way too many.
They don't understand
Right.
that they're God's creation and that He has a purpose for their lives. So understanding, having that relationship that eliminates that thought altogether because they have a purpose.
Right. Well, I think you brought life to something that was hidden, and you brought meaning, and so many people now feel seen.
Media is so powerful.
Yes.
And the more we put these subjects up on media that can help people,
Yes.
I mean, the enemy's using media.
Yes. Oh.
So we need to step up and do our part.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear people saying all the time, well, I don't do social media. I don't do this. Why? It's a tool that you can use for God's glory.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't diminish from things like that. It's like, let's bring God into it. We are the salt and the light and the fragrance.
Amen.
So it must be so meaningful to be a part of something like that really is, you see such significance in. That has to bring a lot of, I don't know, how does it make you feel?
It was, well, it changed my life. I mean, I can't show you my watch, but it's on military time. It created an awareness that we
Yeah.
haven't, my family, everybody,
Right.
we haven't left since we did that film. And it led to other things. We led to the TV series that the movie continued, as my character now is a chaplain and not a master sergeant in the Army. And he's helping teenagers recognize the signs of suicide in their friends.
Yes.
So then that's when Breaking Strongholds happened.
Yes.
And we have actually real life courses in Texas, at least, that teach people how to
Yes.
start the conversation.
That's it.
You got to ask the right questions. You
Right.
see somebody withdrawing and depressed, start the conversation because they're having ideations and
Yes.
they're
Yes. As a Christian counselor, I deal with that a lot. And, you see the escalating rates of young people in suicidal tendencies or even contemplating it. And so much of it is bullying. But you're right, it's the isolation concept. Wolves go after sheep. Which ones? The ones that are isolated
that are
and
by
hurt,
themselves,
right?
that's
Yes.
right.
And we do that on our own. And so thank you for that. But I really, really want to talk about Paul.
Okay.
What you're doing here is incredible. I mean, all this work that you're doing is incredible. But I bet anyone you ask is going to say they love Paul.
Yeah.
You just love Paul. I mean, he's just amazing. His story, the transformation,
Yep.
the beatings, they've not given up. So how did that role come to you?
I follow certain casting directors,
Okay.
and I saw a post for this series that was being produced.
Yes.
And I immediately jumped on it because I, like many people, I'm a fan
Yes.
of Paul
Yes.
and his story.
Yes.
So I auditioned for it. I think I was miscast because supposedly Paul was short
Yeah.
and I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
But that's okay. It was on Zoom.
Yes.
So they loved
audition
they
was?
loved my audition. So yeah, I got the part. But it's been a journey, particularly for me personally, Kim. I mean, if anything, if God wanted to bring this role to my lap just for my personal development, then that's going to be enough for me.
Wow. Tell me about that.
Just the amount of research, the amount of studying.
Yes.
I studied the Bible before, but now diving into Paul's character
Yes.
and his epistles and what he did and why he did it and his transformation,
Yes.
life before Damascus and after Damascus.
Yes.
An amazing person. And you're right, everybody loves Paul.
Yes.
Oh, after Jesus, he's my favorite character in the
Yes.
Bible, so it's a lot of pressure.
Well, that's what I was
a lot
gonna
of pressure
ask
to
you.
play.
How much pressure did you feel,
Yeah.
to do that? And for the, I think I failed to tell you that I'm talking about Ulises' last, I guess it's your most recent
It's
project,
what I'm working on right now,
Yeah,
yes.
Paul, the Last Apostle. And I guess you've just done, you did one session?
We have a
one-
pilot. We have a pilot, episode 1, you could call it.
Yes.
And we are using that to promote the idea, raise
Yes.
some funds,
Yes.
and move on to filming a couple of more episodes.
Yes.
Paul in the pilot because got run out of Thessalonica,
Yes.
went to Berea,
Yes.
got run out of there too.
Yes.
And now he's on his way to Athens to talk to the idolaters and the Greek philosophers
Yes.
at the Areopagus.
Yes.
And I'm so excited about that because I love that, all the theological implications of that speech
Yes.
that I don't think Paul realized because he left Athens completely defeated.
Yes.
He thought, I didn't make a dent here.
Yes.
They
yes.
laughed at me.
Yes.
And we've been talking about that speech for this whole time.
Yes, and I do believe that you get in character on some interviews in Paul. I mean, I'm just saying, if you'd like to just get in character and just speak as Paul did for a minute, it is incredible. It's like you were born for this role.
Oh my gosh.
Audience, you want to hear him? They said yes.
Men of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. And I walked around your city and I observed your objects of worship. I even saw an altar with this inscription: to an unknown God. So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship. Let me tell you about this God that you do not know. The God that made the earth and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth. And he does not live in temples made by human hands. And he's not served by human hands, as if he needed anything. Rather, he himself gives life and breath and everything else we need. And watch for the episode coming up next.
You just make me feel like I'm with Paul.
Oh my gosh.
I
Thank
mean-
you. That's such a compliment. Thank you.
I mean, it's really true. I just feel like, maybe all of your life has been preparing you for this role. I mean, I know the other roles are important. I don't mean to diminish those.
I feel privileged to play Paul. God, be careful what you pray for.
Yeah.
Because after playing Vic in We Are Stronger,
Yeah.
I asked God to send me a role that was life altering.
Yeah.
And then he gave me Paul. So
May I ask you this? There's so many different concepts of Paul. Everyone probably sees Paul as they want to see Paul. How did you decide the way you felt like you wanted to play Paul?
well, so Paul being a Jew when he was Saul, and his intensity and his passion for the law,
Yes.
he carried that identity into his conversion. So even though his name changed and his goals changed, he didn't change his personality.
Right, right.
So I've approached Paul as being a melancholic bull in a china shop.
Oh,
Okay, a very intense yet loving,
yes,
passionate, and no sugarcoating type of guy,
right,
but that did everything out of love.
yes.
Because the one thing that I learned that is so incredible to me is that when he was Saul, everything he did, torturing, killing, persecuting, dragging women and children out of their homes, he did it in the name of God.
Yeah,
He really believed that he was doing it for God.
yes,
So, what a transformation. Those 3 days
Yeah.
in that house on Straight Street, blind, wondering what just happened.
Yes.
I wanna expand on that.
Yes.
I want to talk about what he went through, praying, wondering. My whole life just got turned upside down.
Yes.
It's just that I didn't just get thrown off a horse and got blinded.
Right.
Lord, now what?
Right.
So I'm excited about playing all these different things because I think people want to see that they're not that bad.
Yes.
If God can do something with a dude like Saul,
Yes. Yes.
then I still have a shot. What can he do for me?
Abs-
What can he do with my life?
Yes. And Ulysses, I wonder how many people are in that state now where they are in the middle of those 3 days, where their life has been rocked, their foundation is gone, they have been thrown off of everything, and they just don't know what to do right now.
Yeah.
You know, I bet there are a lot of people. So as we wind down, what would you say to them, those people that are in that situation where they feel blinded by the world, and they're looking for hope? What hope would you offer to them?
One word. Surrender. Just give it up. Just quit trying so hard. Just go to his feet and say, Father, you take it from here. Because that's all he wants. That's the invitation he needs.
Yes.
You know, I always tell performers, listen, he's not interested in you doing a great performance. He's interested in relationship with you.
Yes.
And you said it at your seminar the other day, yesterday. First things first. Seek him first.
Yes.
So I would say the advice is surrender. Just let it go.
Yeah.
I know the songs, you know, Jesus take the wheel. That's
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
With your heart,
Right.
just give it all. Your children, your family, your marriage. It doesn't matter what area of your life. Surrender.
Yeah.
Get on your knees and let it go. And it happens.
Let go. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, this is everything you do. I want to be a cheerleader for the Paul Apostles show. Anything that we can do, we'll be praying you forward. I know that you're going to love it if you haven't already seen him. Go back and watch his movies. Your information is going to be along the bottom of our screen so that you can look him up and know exactly how to follow him and follow this incredible Paul that he's going to be portraying. So thank you for your time.
Thank you,
You're
Kim.
so busy. Thank you for the way you pour yourself in to make all of us better. Thank you so much. And audience, friends, thank you so much for joining us today on The Coffee Show. Thanks for stopping by. I look forward to seeing you next time right here on Coffee. Bye, everybody. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the studio. I'm so excited about this way we're doing this new season. Many times we thought, oh, gosh, we go places and we think, oh, there's so many great people we're meeting. There's so many great interviews we could be doing. And so this time, while I was at Content, we just decided, let's try it. So what you're getting are the interviews we did there, shorter versions, and now we get to bring them to you and maybe extend them a little bit and give you some behind the scenes of what was happening, what was going on. How did we do that? And so to do that, we brought in one of our production girls, Jen, who travels with me. And Jen, didn't we have a lot of fun?
Oh, it was so much fun. So much fun. So different than anything we've ever done.
We walked in there. We did not have a set like we have here. So we literally had to build the set. So let's just talk about that for just a minute.
So yeah, we walked into pretty much an empty space at that point.
Yes,
right?
it was like a building, a
warehouse.
Warehouse,
yes. Yeah, and of course we wanted the perfect spot. So we were trying to figure out where we were located. And yeah, I think it was 4 of us, and we just started building from the ground up.
We hit every store there was,
Yes.
trying to find the perfect plants, the perfect rug, because we wanted to make it as cozy as it was here. Because these interviews, we want to bring out real stories. We want people to feel very comfortable. And, you know, to me, that's part of kind of making it like a home environment.
Yes.
And what you're going to see are just 19 incredible interviews like the one that we just saw. And I want to get to that, but before we do, let's talk about the production side. You know, we brought Alex in from Baltimore, you came in, the team came in, but we were still in a warehouse. So you're going to hear some things that you normally wouldn't hear.
Right.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Right, so there was some noise in the background, which can be kind of distracting.
And what was the noise from?
People,
All the
a lot of people.
Yes.
A lot of people had other booths and things set up. A lot of people just touring the place, kids running around. There was just a lot going on.
Yes, and it was funny because I noticed that as soon as the lights would go on, people would start to gather.
Yes.
Which told me, boy, we have some great guests because they wanted to hear, but they were also eating their popcorn and and so.
Yeah, it was like a live movie. It was kind of interesting in that aspect.
It was so much fun, and would you do it again?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts was we realized after we built the set, we didn't really have a dressing room or dressing space, so we did like this little makeshift mirror, $5 mirror behind the backdrop, and it just had a couple items back there, and we would kind of sneak back there and get you situated. So yeah, that was kind of funny. People would see you pop out of the.
This is really behind the scenes. You know, the closest area to even check your makeup was up a hill and around the corner and down the steps. It was a long way, and so we built a little dressing area. So what we found out were all the people around us were coming to our little makeshift dressing area, which was fun. It was so much fun. Some of the things that you would not know if we didn't tell you, which is another reason we wanted to do this. So it's so much fun for you, our friends, our audience, to be able to share with you, some of the things that we do behind the scenes, so that it's just so important for me, and I know for Jen and the entire staff, for you to see the heart of the ministry and why we do what we do. And I think that seeing that first interview, you see why we do what we do, because there's so many incredible stories out there like Ulises that we would never get him here to the studio, but we could meet him there. And gosh, what a testimony.
Oh, amazing. I think it was so amazing to me is just the people that were walking around us.
Yeah.
You just have no idea. And all of a sudden, when they sit down in the chair next to you and what just started to come out of their mouths, was just like, wow.
Absolutely. And Ulises is one of those people. He just kind of silently walks around. But when you sit, and I had seen him, on some of the shows, because the people who produced that, they're friends. So I'd seen him. But I will tell you, it's one thing to see someone outwardly and who you think they are, but then to discover who they really are, and it comes flowing out. I mean, when he started talking about how he came to know Christ, that just, what a message for all of us, that when someone asked him, he thought he had been a believer. Kind of reminded me of the real Paul-Saul story. Saul thought he was doing what God wanted him to do. Ulysses truly thought that he had accepted Christ until someone asked him. And when they asked him, he said, I hesitated. And when I hesitated, the person was so discerning, he goes, wait a minute. If you have to pause that long, we need to make sure. Wasn't that powerful?
That was amazing. I agree. And it really made me start to think, wow, I mean, how many people do we walk around each day, even ourselves at times, where you just think, okay, we're good. We know we're doing all the right things. And so I love that he was so honest about that.
Oh, I do too. And I think it's a gut check for all of us. And the bravery of the person who talked to him that just said, wait a minute.
Life-changing.
Yes. And remember, he said, I bawled like a baby. That was his word. And I thought, that's, not that you have to have that emotion, but that emotion. And so I would just say to you, my friends, when do you think, when someone asks you, do you know that you know that you know? Have you begun that relationship with Christ? The most important thing that we would ever do is seek ye first the kingdom of God. Seek God first. So I would just encourage you to think about that today. And do you pause? And if you pause, do as Ulises says. He said, surrender.
Yes.
I just surrendered my life to God, and that's when all things become new. God gives us not only joy, but unspeakable joy, life, not only life, but abundant life. It's when everything is new, when you start that relationship with Christ. So, if by chance you pause or you hesitate, I would really encourage you to go to someone that you could talk to, like he did, and make sure, above all things, that happens, because that's the story of Saul and Paul. Saul thought that he was on the road to Damascus. He had that that moment, 3 days of blindness, and that's where his life was transformed. And that's what God promises us, right? A transformed life.
Yeah.
All things are made new. And that's when that's where God takes all of our past and puts it right before us in the present and builds this incredible future for us to share his love and his grace. But,
I loved when he said, if God can change a dude, was his words, if God can change a dude like Saul, then imagine what he could do with me.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, that is so powerful.
yes. Well, and the whole thing with Saul and Paul is so amazing to me, and the life that he did. And I don't know, is there anything about what he said or anything about the life of Paul that just strikes you from what he said? Or
Well, I think my biggest thing that I took from him as a person, I loved how he just immersed himself into the role, into all the roles that he's done, actually, and really seems to live it and almost become the characters.
didn't you love when he did
I
get
was
into
just gonna
character?
say that was. I felt like I was at the movies and my jaw was kind of like dropping a little bit as I was watching him.
I mean, you almost feel like you're truly in the presence of
Yes.
Paul. And to me, what is it? The Bible is so filled with Paul. Like he's written like 14 of the New Testament books. He's such a powerful man, and we all look at him in a different way. But there was something about listening to him that you just close your eyes and you think, oh my gosh, what is it going to be like
Yes.
when we really meet these people in the Bible? We read about them. And that's another reason why I love this testimony. We read about them, but these actors that we're going to be sharing through the course of this next season, they bring them to life.
Yes.
And it makes you thirsty to meet them. It makes you want to learn everything you can about them so that when you do meet them, you can ask questions and talk about it so much. But, one of the things before we end, just three quick things I want to remind you about Paul and why this story was so important to me is that we learn from Paul that God never changes. He requires that we make the change to become like him. God does. He's not going to change for us, and aren't we glad about that? Because on my bad days, I may have him doing things that the next day I may regret. So we remember that from this life, from Saul to Paul, that God doesn't change. He's intentional. The Bible tells us in John 3:16, for God so loved the world, that's you and I, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes would not perish but have everlasting life. We learn from Paul's life that there's a time for us to choose. We can choose today and make the rest of our future in line with what God would have us to do. And then, which goes to the third, there's new beginnings. At any moment, we can be like Saul to Paul or Ulises in accepting Christ. At any moment, we can just say, hey, I just want to surrender. I want the rest of my life to be exactly what God would have it to be. It's a powerful, powerful story. So thank you so much for joining us for coffee today. I hope you've enjoyed this interview as much as we did bringing it to you. And we look forward to seeing you next time right here on Coffee.